Hello, and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Over that away is DZ representing his Los Angeles Chargers. You'll notice Jack is not here today. He is not feeling well. We are waiting to see if one of the other Raiders folks is going to be jumping in to represent their Las Vegas Raiders, and we will hopefully be able to get some Raiders representation here shortly. With that in mind, though, we have quite the group of games to discuss here. I mean, where to start is actually the biggest question.
I guess we'd have to wait to see if we got a Raiders guy coming in and talk about their game or lack of, I guess. No offense.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a tough go out there for Raiders fans for sure. But I'd like to hold off just to see if we get any Raiders representation jumping in on the show this evening. Sackdown, how you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, just before we go any further, though, for all of you who are joining us live here at the onset of the podcast, thank you for watching. And with that in mind, if you want to go ahead and click those thumbs up and likes, do it on both channels. It really does help us a lot so we can reach more folks just like you. And if you have any questions or comments and you're joining us after the pod, go ahead and leave those comments down below as well, and we will do our best to get those responses. I know DZ and I both use our X handles here right below the names, so you can find us easily on what I am most active on, which is X, and I think you are too.
Yeah.
And that allows you to interact with us after the show or even in the off weeks or whatever. If you have questions for us, I know that I've been getting quite a few X questions from folks all over the place, just in terms of my thoughts on how things went and whatnot. So I do appreciate the, intermediate banter back and forth. I think it's great to kind of bounce questions off each other and challenge ideas and all that good stuff. So I do thank everyone for the additional interactions in between shows. And with that in mind, may as well just jump right into it. DZ, let's talk about your uniforms first.
Yeah, not a fan.
No,
I wasn't. Before the season even kicked off, they something or other got leaked, like, the Chargers are going to be debuting 2 new alternate uniforms, getting rid of the Royals, which kind of upset some people. Some people really were big fans of the Royals. And I didn't like them or hate them. I thought they were neat. I like that. It's actually Victory. Well, it kind of has. It's like that blue that's in Victory B's comment right there with the blue diamond. Anyways, and then so I started doing some digging because it was just all rumors and stuff. And I did some digging and I went on Reddit, and some guy on Reddit, and I don't know if we talked about this, but it's been a long time. Some guy on Reddit actually leaked it, and he was right. He was like, it's going to be an all new navy and then an all sunshine gold or whatever they call it. And I was excited about the navy. I'm like, okay, it's time to bring those back. Personally, that should be the uniform, but I get the whole powder blue thing. They're moved back to LA. That's where it was originated, whatever.
Yep.
Holy crap. Were those god awful to look at. Like, they showed up on TV, but I wouldn't say head to toe, but it was like, it's almost head to toe. I would have thought that uniform would have looked at least a little better if they broke it up with like white pants or something, right? But like yellow jersey, yellow pants, yellow socks. And I guess the kids like it, the younger. I do see Chargers fans that I'm assuming who are younger. What's up, Nab, man? some Chargers fans who like it. I don't like it. I can't stand it. I thought, I think this is that yellow combo was big in the 70s and maybe early 80s. I was born in 84, so that's it's before my time, so I don't care. And I guess history repeats itself, and maybe yellow's a thing. I'm not a fan of yellow at all. Anyways, they were god awful, man. They were god awful, and I'm sure other people thought they were awful as well. But for some reason, there's that certain group of people who like them. So they come out with their piss-colored uniforms, and they piss down their legs on Sunday. Yeah. Colts versus Chargers. Colts come rolling in, and they're hot. And by no means did they cool down. Final score 38-24. Colts improved to 6-1. Chargers fall to 4-3. So after starting 3-0, they're now 4-3. So they've been stumbling. As last week I predicted the Chargers to lose, and they did, and came true. But it's not that they lost that upsets me at all. Like, they're a hot team, and they look it by all means. It's the way the Chargers lost that really gets under my skin, pisses me off, and was enough that me and my wife, who she's a big sports fan, but she sees the game through a different lens than I do. She sees it through probably a more professional. She's very rule-based, very rule-oriented. And as soon as that game ended, we talked, and she's like, this is crap. Like, the NFL, in her opinion, she's like, there's way too many penalties that just they don't call, or they're calling a penalty on something that shouldn't be.
Yep.
And yeah, and we were talking, and I'm like, this is getting to be not fun for me. And like I said, coming into this game, I assumed that we were going to lose, but there was some stuff going on. And I also, on Sundays, just like everybody else, I watch multiple games. Before my game kicks off, I've got the split screen on. I'm watching 4 games because, I'm a psychopath and I like fantasy as well. So I'm watching 4 games, and then I'll switch it over and watch other games. So I'm watching games, and I'm seeing how things are being officiated. At the same time, I'm on X, and I'm seeing these fans. All right. Oh, well. So I wasn't happy after the game. I'm glad, like I said, this show's on a Wednesday, because I was getting ready to be just done with the NFL. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's just this stuff that irks me. And for years, we've heard that Raiders fans, we never get calls, we never get penalties. And I feel their pain, man. I feel their pain because I feel like my team doesn't get calls when they should be getting calls. And the other teams, it seems like the hot teams are getting their calls. So anyways, I'll get into the game, which I really don't want to, but let's do it. Colts dominated early. Man, right off the bat, right off the bus, right off the plane, scoring 2 touchdowns on their first 3 drives, led 20-3. Halftime, 23-3. Chargers only scored 3 points at halftime. I was just like, they couldn't do anything wrong. The Colts couldn't do it. They just, it was like poetry in motion, essentially. It was like watching a varsity team play against like the JV team, I guess, because, JV is going to put up a fight, but it was just, they were just polished. They extended the lead 31-10 in the third quarter, and credit to where it's, credit's due. The Chargers, the Bolts, they tried to mount a comeback a little too late. 0 run game from the Chargers. And, that's kind of expected. Everybody was fooled by Kamani Vidal's game against the Miami Dolphins. Well, the Miami Dolphins defense is atrocious, but, you're going into a game with a guy that was on your practice squad as your starting running back, because the starters are all gone. They're all hurt or, have come in banged up. I think that was Haskins, our third running back. Bolts tried to mount a comeback with 3 second-half touchdowns, which was exciting. We knew that was going to be possible just due to the Colts secondary and their issues they had with their back half of their defense. But, I mean, you can't just do this all one quarter. You just put too much stress on both sides of the ball. And, if they scored more, before halftime, that would have been, better on their part. Herbert had 2 costly interceptions. Yeah, I have a stat down. 4 of his 5 interceptions this season have come off deflection and tips. And, this isn't a surprise to me as a Chargers fan and a Herbert truther, I guess. But for some reason, that dude's 6'6" and gets his balls batted down like crazy. It doesn't make sense to me. Is his throwing motion? Who knows? I've had conversations with people about that before. But a guy of his size shouldn't be getting balls batted down, in my opinion. It happens. I saw a stat. Mahomes has had 8 balls batted down, 0 interceptions. That's just bizarre to me. Anyways, Herbert was 37 for 55, 420 yards. Hang on, I got some more. Colts had 4 sacks, 2 picks, 10 pass deflections. 10. Just unreal. Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, he's the MVP. I hate just automatically giving it to a quarterback. I think it's stupid. But whatever. I guess everybody's got Mahomes is back in the MVP race and is leading or whatever it is. Jonathan Taylor, to me, looks like the MVP. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. His 3rd multi-touchdown game of this season. And we're in going into week 7, I guess. Pretty impressive. Chargers offensive line or lack thereof of an offensive line allowed 35 pressures. 35. Most by any offense, any game since 2019 per Next Gen Stats. Like, just un-effing real, man, what Justin has to work with and has to be Houdini back there. And that probably explains some of these interceptions, if not most of his interceptions he's had to deal with this season, is just the offensive line woes. And, thank God I'm not in a front office or a GM, because I would have absolutely no more hair left and my whole beard would be gray, because I don't know how they do it. I don't know how. You got to find guys off the street and get them ready to play an NFL game against, stars, studs, DNs, D tackles. Unreal. In another thing, Herbert's been hit 62 times, most in the league by far. And for context, the second most is Cam Ward at 44 times. So he talked about a presser. He said he's fine. He's like, we got a great training staff, blah, 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 all this. But, let's see how he feels come like week 14 or 15. You know what I mean? Let's see how that 6'6" frame feels. He was here's if you want to like be on a plus side for it, Herbert has been hit, or he was the first player in NFL history, it's good and bad, to have 35 plus completions, 420 plus yards, 3 pass touchdowns, and 30 plus rush yards in a loss. Making history, breaking records, but not, with an L. Un-effing real. Stats for batted balls are calculated if a defensive player contacts the ball and intended receiver. Yes, Neff, I'm aware of that. I'm glad you shared that for our audience. They are being batted. They are being hit, and then I think 3 times this season I've watched the D lineman catch his own batted ball.
So I do have a question, Navman, on that. Is that I'm not sure you may know the answer to this because I don't know if it counts as a batted ball if the defender knocks the ball prior to the receiver being able to catch it. That is typically normally referred to, at least in the defensive back stats, as passes defended. Typically, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, or a pass breakup, like PBU or PDU or whatever you want to refer to it as. I've not heard it typically. I mean, again, I could be wrong, but I don't believe I've ever heard it referred to as a batted ball. The general stat for batted ball, certainly the mental math that I think that most kind of fans and folks kind of think of is like D linemen and linebackers as the ball is traveling, knocking the ball down, which technically still fits that definition, right? Like 100%. But I just don't think that those within 5 yards. Okay, see, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, batted is at the line of scrimmage essentially,
Yes.
and then PBU is more of a secondary thing.
Right. Sorry, just the definition that was there sort of I realize it wasn't intentional, but the definition as written would certainly leave open to that there could actually be crosstalk, if you will, between what we see as like a pass breakup or passes defended and batted balls.
Yeah, it just it doesn't make any sense in my opinion. But as I've highlighted, I think a few weeks ago, these D linemen are effing real, man. They are absolute monsters. Seeing some of these dudes, 300 some odd pounds, jump up, which looks like 4 feet in the air, is just it's mind blowing. Another positive, I guess, in this loss is Herbert's tied with Peyton Manning for the most completions in the first 6 seasons at 2,128. Thought that was a kind of neat nugget. The great Peyton Manning. Another good plus was seeing the breakout or the emergence of Oronde Gadsden, the tight end that they traded up for.
Yeah.
He hasn't even started all the games this season, and he is, I think he's like 4th or 5th or 6th or something like that, somewhere in that range in leading receptions as a rookie. In this game, he was 7 for 164 yards and a touchdown. That is most yards by any Chargers rookie tight end, and it's 4th all time for one game, and it's the most in the NFL by rookie tight end since. And there's 2 years I was given, and I can't find the exact right answer. It's either 85 or 2000. So the sky's looking up for him. Unfortunately, another guy, Tyler Warren, for the Colts, you got to see him up and close and personal. Raiders fans have as well. He is the truth, man. Like, Shane Steichen had him dialed up that he could do no wrong. It was just, he's got that perfect size. He doesn't have that speed. I would say that, like, look at Brock Bowers, since Raider fans are in here, Bowers has more of that shifty stuff, but he's got that perfect prototype, body for tight end that can really just, smash you, or, you're like, oh, he's blocking. Just kidding. As soon as you drop off, he's going out for a pass, and then good luck getting him down. If he's, by contact, he's already getting 5 more yards or whatever. It's hang on. My point is that, yeah, I agree. Nav, I 1000% agree. Like, it's something that me and a bunch of Chargers fans in a chat, we don't understand it. And there was a conversation a few weeks ago that one of their guys is a coach somewhere, says that he doesn't particularly like Justin Herbert's throwing motion. And maybe that could have something to do with it. I do, see him sidearming things a little more than he should be. But at the same time, he's playing behind an atrocious, absolutely bottom of the league offensive line. So that has to come into play here. I'm not saying this didn't happen in previous seasons, because it did, but yeah, man, should not happen at all, especially with the guys. I mean, I think Tom Brady was the one, I think, yeah, like where you're releasing the ball, 6'6". He's 6'6". Wait, what? He said what? I don't know what he's getting at. Anyways, so Randy Gadsden, thank you showing up, man. Now
I just want to quickly touch on that, though, just real quick, on this comment here before we move on to the next piece. This has a lot to do with the offensive center position on your team.
Oh.
So and it's twofold, right? Which is the offensive center on your team is probably, if I had to guess, I don't even know the stats. I'm not even looking this up. I would average he's probably between 6'2" and 6'3", or 6'2" and 6'4". Those are the most common general heights of an offensive center.
Yeah.
Most of them are anywhere from like 295 to 330, somewhere in that range in terms of height and weight.
He's over 3. He's like 315 or something.
Yeah. So you're going to be in that kind of general range. So those are not small guys. Like those are larger dudes, and they're not super short. So you're only talking a couple inches or 3 inches shorter, or even the same height as the quarterback. And that's why it's so important when they are in front of the quarterback that they don't get stood up, which can happen quite a bit in center play that is poor, where they get kind of flailed backwards. So all of a sudden they're, maybe they're not even 6'3". Maybe they are standing with their arms up and they're kind of closer to 6'4", 6'5". Well, then Herbert's got to try to throw over someone his own height who's literally right in front of him.
That's true. Or being pushed back into his face.
Well, and that was going to be my second comment, which is, and that's then on top of that, you have a dude that's getting stood up who's likely also getting pushed back, whether he's stood up or not, back into his face, which is at least at minimum having a dude even slightly hunched or crouched down who's probably every bit 5'10", 5'11", and he is then getting shoved backwards towards the quarterback.
And then think about it, when a quarterback is throwing in a throwing motion, Richie, their legs are spread, right? So they're not standing straight up and down. So it's getting to be somewhat equally or whatever. Yeah, bringing up the center, Bradley Bozeman, I hear and I've seen through promotional videos or whatever, is a great human being off the field. Him and his wife are into charities. They contribute to communities where they're from, the whole nine. He came from Alabama, played for the Crimson Tide. Great. That's cool. He was drafted by the Ravens. I saw his RAS score. The whole thing was, if nobody's familiar with RAS scores, it's body types and whatever. And green is good, red is bad, and yellow is, in the middle. His card was absolutely red, the whole thing. And I believe there's like 20 different things they grade players on. And this is the pre-draft process. He had one green, and that was for his weight. He was a big boy. So essentially, this guy was the most unathletic. I think he had like a grade of like 1 point something or whatever it is, which RAS scores aren't all what they're, brought up to be, because you could have a bad one or you could have a good one. It doesn't, point in the direction where your career is going. That being said, this guy has been a bad center for quite some time, and they keep doubling down on him. Our head coach has now got shades of Joe Biden at the pressers. It drives me absolutely bananas. It's like, I'm like, anytime a reporter asks about like, hey, is there a potential you could bring in Andre James or whatever? No, we love Bradley, Bub. This whole spiel, all the whole nine, and it's so aggravating for fans to listen to. And then you got Herbert, Brad. The Bozeman. He's a captain. Blah blah. All this, and you're like, every effing game we watch, this guy is just whiffing. It's like Olay, letting dudes run by scot free. You know what I mean? Or he's chipping and helping on a spot he doesn't need to help, and you got a linebacker sitting right there just laughing and just boom, beeline it, and either pressuring Herbert, he's got to scramble and become Jesus or something and make a play. It's so effing bad. It's to the point where fans are like, first round pick center, just do it. You know what I mean? And then like I think one of like the top guys in college like just tore his ACL or something. So that's we're already talking draft, and in week 7, it's pretty bad. But he's horrible, Richie. He's absolutely dog crap. I think Peyton Manning, what I mentioned.
Yep.
We had Corey Linsley, who came from Green Bay. Telesco signed him. It was a great signing by him, and I think he made him the highest paid center at the time at his signing or whatever. I think it was like $75 million or something, really crazy. And he played great for 2 years. And then that third year, we kept seeing like, food poisoning. And unfortunately, it was a heart condition and had to force him to retire. But, man, when he was on that line, he was surrounded by scrubs, essentially, not really good guys. But since he was such an elite center, he could command that and he could, make that work. I think he had like 17 pressures in just 2 seasons alone, or something like just something crazy. I don't know. He was a great player and he'll be missed. I think he weighs like 150 pounds now. The guy's lost so much weight. He's unrecognizable, but good for him. Now onto the defense, which I thought, fool me, right? I thought would have been the strength of this team going into this season. Especially as we've seen the season unfold, they've been somewhat the healthiest. They with the most points allowed since week 5, you got the Bengals at 95, Chargers at 92, Dolphins at 87. It's pretty bad. Pretty damn bad. The defense in the last 3 games, Richie, have been allowing on average 377 yards per game, 140 yards rushing, 30 points on average, and they are allowing offenses to score 69% in the red zone. They can't stop the run. I think, our defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, who was a hot name for potential coaching, head coaching job. Some are like, I guess, Tennessee fired whatever his name was. People were like, oh, Jesse Minter. I don't know about that anymore. I think we jumped to our guns a little too quickly, or jumped the gun a little too quickly. In my opinion, he's on fraud watch right now. And there could be varying factors why this is going on. And I'm not going to pretend like I know what is going on. But Derwin James, he's had 11 missed tackles so far this season. Leads the league in missed tackles. This is your quarterback of the defense, your all-pro everything. He only had 6 missed tackles all of last season. So something's very wrong with him. We know he's got a wrist problem, a wrist injury. It's probably got a broken bone in there. He's got to have to wear something on there. And then Elijah Molden, my favorite free agent addition 2 years ago, he's got, he missed this last game. He's got like 10 screws in his thumb that his father posted on Instagram. I just saw before our show. I'm like, oh, great. That's going to be great. Troy Dye, our third string linebacker, he's got a thumb issue. No one knows what's going on with him, but he missed last game. We did get Khalil Mack back, but that was on a limited snaps, right? We got Denzel Perryman back for the first time since week 1, but that was limited snaps. And then Deion Henley, who we thought was going to be the next Fred Warner or whoever, something's wrong with that guy. Ever since he's gotten sick. Ever since he's gotten sick, which I believe was week 2 against the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken, and they said it was a tonsil issue. He has been a shell of himself. And a guy I was talking to before our show, a couple hours before our show, was like, have you noticed that every injury report we've got one illness on the team? And I'm like, huh. And then we're thinking, I'm like, is mono still a thing? Like, honestly, is mono still a thing? This is me putting on tinfoil, guys. I'm wrapping tinfoil on my head right now because I can't figure out what's wrong with this defense. And I'm like, is there something going on that, guys are getting sick every week and they're still playing and they're just not 100%? I don't know. Another thing going into this game, like within the first 5, like not even 5 minutes, we lost 2 guys in the trenches. I think Tito Obonia, one of our D tackles, got his arm broken, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, dude, it's panic in LA right now, man, and it's not good. It's I'm not a fan. I've seen this movie one too many times.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a fan. I've been watching the Chargers for decades. And I've seen this movie. The writing's on the wall, and God bless those fans that think they can miraculously turn this around. And yeah. He probably is the best center right now, Nav. He's that left side of that line is just stellar. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 2 or 3 centers in the league right now, maybe 4, that are in a different category. Those are the guys that are able to digest at glancing coverages, and they set up the rest of the offensive line accordingly.
Yeah.
And they can do it like this, right? Like they just it's not even a thought process. They just kind of know.
Yeah.
And then once you have a guy like that, they're then no longer thinking of where the guy's going to be coming from, like in terms of the D tackles and stuff. They just know where the angle that they're going to be coming at them from. And so as a result, they're able to snap the ball and they're not rushing the snap, so they get a clean snap off every time to the QB. It really is a solid center, like as in like even like just top 15 is a massive difference maker on your team. Yeah,
but when you have though in LA a bottom of the league offensive line due to injuries, due to coaching, whatever, and then you have a center this bad, it's just a recipe for disaster. And yeah, like I said, Rashawn Slater's not coming back this season, and it's interesting. And there was a chance. We had our fingers crossed watching a practice report heading into last week's game that Andre James was working with the first team offense.
He was.
Yeah, for like 2 days. And we were like, yes, please. Thank you, baby Jesus. And come to find out, Bradley Bozeman was sick. Going back to what I was talking about. And then that's who starts, and Andre James doesn't even sniff SoFi. So yeah, I don't get it. I think there's a money aspect. I think there's a nepotism aspect. The offensive line coach for the Chargers, Mike Devlin, his resume is piss poor. I don't know how he still has a job in this league, but it's the good old boy club, right? Once you're in, you're in. I'm sick of our own nation saying Jordan Meredith is a problem. He is not the problem. I said that from the beginning of the season, Nav, that Meredith is not an issue, but that is.
Well, he could be an issue, and I'm going to play the flip side of that same coin.
Devil's advocate or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. If you finally get other linemen that are more competent around him, and you find that he's not actually fitting the scheme correctly. But the thing is you have way bigger issues that you need to address on your offensive line than Meredith. Meredith is like the last guy you basically make changes to. Colton Miller is also quite good as well, although he seems to be getting hurt an awful lot, so that could just be problematic, just generally speaking. Like if he can't stay on the field, like for extended periods of time at this point in his career, he could be like the Cowboys left tackle as well. When he was healthy, he was amazing, right?
Yeah,
And
his
then,
name is it's with a T,
yeah,
right? It's not Tron
Tyron.
Armstead, is
No,
it?
it was like Tyron Johnson or Tyron, like it was something like that.
It's not.
He
Is
was
it Tyron Armstead? Oh, come on, somebody
No, it
now,
wasn't
somebody Google.
Armstead. It wasn't Armstead. He was the staple on the Cowboys for like 10
Yeah,
years. And
they're
then
left.
near the
Yeah,
like in the last like 3 years of his career, the dude like played like 4 games total or something
yep,
crazy. Like,
yep.
but when he was there, he was awesome. Like even when he came back from being hurt, he was still, you know, showed that he kind of had the thing,
And
right?
you guys kind of brought up the Raiders, right? You know, he brought up Meredith, and we're talking about their O line. They had the luxury to bench one of their best players on that whole team, in my opinion, JPJ, in the third quarter. I'm like, shit, I wish I could do that, man. Oh, I would love to know what's going on in Las Vegas, be the fly on the wall to know what's going on with the whole Pete Carroll JPJ thing. That would be great. That's all I want to know because, they drafted that kid so high out of Oregon and got him playing guard. I don't know. Yeah,
Tyron Smith.
Tyron Smith. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
who
yeah.
I was. That's who I was thinking of at least. I don't
Wasn't he
know who
like
you were.
6'7" or something? Like just a
Yeah,
massive.
the dude was an enormous human being.
Yeah, he's gigantic.
He was hold on, 6'5", 320 pounds.
Yeah, massive crickets. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Colts Chiefs, I guess, is coming up in a few weeks. That's a game I'm really going to be interested in, and if the Chargers keep playing the way they are playing, I'm going to make an effort to watch that game. Like, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of getting tired of this. And look, they had this game, and there was another thing I wanted to kind of jump on. Going back to the reffing. Justin threw this deep ball to Ladd, which was kind of weird for Ladd to, get a deep ball, right? It was like up the middle, and I think they schemed it up because he was going to be on a linebacker, but Ladd was in the end zone, and Zaire Franklin, there's been a lot of why can't I say that word? Publicity with him right now because he was talking trash about Herbert in a few weeks ago, whatever. So Zaire Franklin was covering him, and credit to him because he was keeping pace with the guy. But Ladd was in the end zone, turns around to catch the ball. This guy, not once does he turn his head around, not
Yeah.
once, turns his head around and has his arm, his left arm or right arm, whatever, holding down one of Ladd's arms as Ladd goes up to try to catch the ball, which was in his hands, like tips. Like, so if he had both of his hands, he could go up and catch the ball. No penalty. No penalty. There's the end zone judge or whatever is right there watching the whole thing. Everybody in the stadium's like, what the? You could hear it on the TV. Everybody's like, where's the laundry? No laundry, no flag, no nothing. And it's just things like that. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, because at least you could throw that flag.
Yep.
And you could have the opportunity to pick it back up. When you guys can go nothing. And I'm like, it was such a pivotal moment. But
Yep. And so let's flip the coin here on the other side of it, right? So you're saying your wife, I believe, was making some comments about how like the NFL just like broad brush strokes, right? Where it was like almost like reffing and all the others. It's just it's different. Something's off. It's not,
Very off.
Yeah. Well, I look no further than the final drive there of the Denver Broncos game there in New York. So I'm gonna juxtapose actually the complete reverse scenario that you just mentioned there. So Riley Moss is right going downfield, is in lockstep with his receiver, turns around to track the ball,
Right.
goes up and starts basically swatting the ball and making a play and everything, and then gets called for PI when the wide receiver basically then tries to tackle him in the end zone. And so, like, generally speaking, you highlighted something in the lad, like, no call there in the end of the game, or near your game there, that you were very clear, and I think that's a really keen observation. Generally speaking, pass interference, one of the bar, if you will, for PI, at least one of the main hurdles was, did the defender turn his head to track the ball at all, like ever, during the last few yards of that play? And if the answer is no, and he still then tries to make a play, like on the player or on the ball, specifically on the player, by the way, it is almost always called as pass interference, because at that point there, you're not actually playing the ball. You're not actually playing the game. You're simply then just trying to interfere with the other player catching the ball, right? Because you're not actually,
They
like,
read the
yeah,
player's eyes
you're,
or hands or whatever.
yeah. But you still got to quickly turn your head to make sure you track the ball, to make sure that you're not, like, misreading the scenario, right? And so that was always typically the bar. That was certainly one of the bars for pass interference. And what you're saying there is like, okay, well, we have come to expect this as fans of the league, that when the thing happens, that there's a countering call saying, like, this is pass interference. Like, this is what we have been trained to expect as fans, and correctly so. No problem. Well, then on the flip side, you look at what happened with Riley Moss. So I'm agreeing with your take actually on that no call. But then you look on the flip side and you're like, okay, well, like, as a defender in the league, it is one of the harder positions to play as a defensive back, because you're reacting to the play rather than it's harder, right? It's harder. And when you're in lockstep and you turn to track the ball and you then make a play on the ball, and then you still get called for PI, for not for holding or hand batting or any of that kind of stuff, but for that kind of stuff, that's a problem. Like, that's a problem. Is that there needs to be either a recalibration of what you're calling pass interference, and it needs to be appropriately communicated to the fans as well as the players, right? And then the other thing, just in the Broncos call that was called in that game on Riley Moss, the important piece there is, it's also clear that Sean Payton and the other Broncos coaches that were there also never got the memo that PI is now called differently for different reasons. And if the coaches don't know, then I know that I'm likely in the right, especially a coach of the caliber of Sean Payton. You know full well that he's basically got that rule book memorized. And so he ran onto the field and actually got himself a penalty
I saw that.
for yelling at the refs in that particular instance. So again, I don't think it's necessarily a bridge too far for you or I in these scenarios to kind of look at this and go back to the league and say, you have work to do and you need to make this all make sense. And if it means that you're apologizing for the call on Riley Moss and then apologizing for the no call on Ladd, then cool, I follow and can track that and agree. But if you're trying to tell me that both calls, as they were called on the field in both of our games, were called correctly, then I expect a detailed explanation, because I've been watching this game for years, and what you're telling me does not track with what the rule book has been that I am familiar with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to your wife's comment, that ruins the game.
It does.
Like, as a
Like
fan, that ruins the game.
oh, 100%. She's watches, she doesn't watch the other games like I do, but she watches the Chargers game. And, like I said, she sees things through a different lens and catches things that she's like, why didn't she's like, she points out this, that, and the other. And I'm like, she started making me think. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, other than that lad was blatantly obvious. And then he celebrated it on social media, which is just hilarious to me. It's like, so you're just bragging that you got away with a blatant pass interference that should have had that ball on the 1 yard line, and it wasn't. And look, the Colts are a better team. They're going to win that game, but regardless, this is what I'm seeing. This is my take. I'm not saying this is right. I am seeing the winning teams, the better teams, getting the calls over the other teams. That's what I'm seeing. And it's becoming more and more obvious to me in these last couple seasons. And it's just like, okay, there is a bias. There is something going on. Just no one's going to admit it. We all have our conspiracy theories. And until then, they're just conspiracy theories. But, maybe it has something to do with betting. I don't know. It's just getting old, and it doesn't seem fair anymore. Which play did he watch? The Broncos or the lad one?
Yeah.
It's just, and kind of something that Charter fans
no call.
something the Charter fans kind of brought up. They're like, why is he not calling for a flag? Because Ladd doesn't like. I don't remember if Ladd does this, but also Justin gets hit all the time. I went through the stats earlier, right? The dude's getting hit, late hits a lot, but Justin never puts his arms up like other quarterbacks. Not, I'm not going to mention names, but there's one in our division who will constantly put his hands up, and then all of a sudden we'll just see a yellow flag get thrown in. So that's on his.
He's really just looking for some mustard to add to the ketchup color.
Exactly. Exactly. But isn't that kind of sad that in this game, this gladiator sport that we love, that is played in modern day arenas, that we are begging for flags like soccer players do, or flopping like basketball players? It's pretty freaking sad and pathetic, but that's what it's coming down to even get any sort of fairness, in this league. We see it. We see like one team will be like flagged in the first half, and it's also like the refs get together and like, damn, dude, we were a little harsh on that team. And then after half, the other team starts getting all the penalties, or there's like, oh, that's a makeup call. I'm like, let's be real here. This isn't WWE, man. What the hell is going on? So that's just annoying me in that part of the game. But that's my as Captain Jack says, that was my soapbox moment,
Yeah. So, kind of get into a little bit details on the Broncos game, I guess, would be the most appropriate for the time being, since we were kind of hinting at some of the cross-pollination there of things. I'm going to start actually with reffing overall, just generally speaking. So the Giants were unusually under-penalized in that game. And I don't know if I posted on X or not. I believe I did. But when you look at the pass throw to Scatabo, Tillman, number 92 on the Broncos, had already rounded the corner and the edge on his man. And his man had grabbed him by the jersey, and he had kind of like spun him. And it was like literally, it wasn't even one of those things that you can claim, well, it's linemen, and you know how that works. It's like hidden and all that sort of thing. No. At this point of the play, Tillman had separated himself from the rest of the pack, and he was like the sole person in the dead center of the TV film take. like literally the camera, like, if there's a film set, like if you like movies and stuff, they talk about framing the picture,
Yeah.
right? So if you're wanting to frame the picture of, and here's what pass interference or holding looks like literally they would have chosen the Tillman image that was on the screen and freeze framed it, because you saw the jersey bunch, you saw him had already passed the lineman, you saw the hold and the spin, like you had all of the hallmarks of what you should have otherwise used to call the thing. And then what actually irked me the most wasn't so much the fact that there was no call, although that certainly didn't sit well with me, that I was kind of seeing this like completely lopsided call from the refs. It was the fact that the announcers weren't actually just calling balls and strikes properly either. Like, so as an example, the in the last Broncos game where the Broncos had a boatload of penalties called against them and actually didn't have very many called for them, some of the announcers, or both announcers actually in that game, made multiple comments the fact that the Broncos were not getting calls that they should have. And so the announcers, even though the refs weren't necessarily calling an unbiased game, the announcers were at least being fair in how they were actually calling and speaking on the game and all that sort of thing. You know what I mean? And so that actually made it a little bit more palatable as a fan watching the game,
Yeah.
especially as a Broncos fan, because at least it's like, okay, good. At least I got the dude that's like right there, like that gets paid to announce and talk about the game.
Was
At
this
least
a Fox or CBS broadcast? Do you remember?
I have to check. I can't remember. I'm going to be on. I can't remember.
Okay.
But either way, it's just one of those things where it's like, at least the Jets game in London, the announcers were like, I can't believe the Broncos aren't getting these calls. Like they was like, they were very forthcoming with their commentary. And then in this game here, the announcers were like, oh, that dart. Oh, gosh, look at that. I mean, oh, my gosh. I mean, oh, my gosh. Wow. It's like, yes, you're right. He made a throw because literally the guy that's like second on the team or third on the team in sacks and was like literally about to light dart up was held, so he couldn't. So, yes, he was able to make a throw. Congratulations. And, the fact that all of these dudes are former football players, most of them, then I am left but with only one take to come from it, which is they are being paid or they're being instructed to call the game with a certain skew.
I mean, the
Because
creatine Caucasians are like the new shiny object in the league right now. So they're like, I could see that for your game, like that Dart and Scattaboo, like, oh my God, look what they do. And, they're the young kind of newcomer. So I get it, but it is kind of, you see right through it.
right, like I am not actually taking away from Dart changing the New York Giants outlook. Like, he is
Right.
definitely a talented guy. Good for him.
Yeah.
Congratulations on playing a certain kind of way, right? But when you look at, and Scattaboo as well, I mean, let's just be real. Like, the Chargers would kill for Scattaboo right now.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right? Like
Najee, Hampton, and Harris. Harris is doubtful this week. He's out. I mean, he's actually the only one called out. But then, Najee and Omari and Hampton are both out. Yeah. Dude. I mean,
if you had Cam in there, I mean, you guys would be like, yeah, we're cool.
What's wrong with Audric Estime? Why is he still free agent, like on waivers?
Oh, I was going to call that earlier. He's lost a step. He doesn't have the his vision is off. His gait is off.
Because there's Charger fans, like the Chargers signed some dude because they had to. Some guy, I think he was like with the Bengals. I'm not sure. I don't even know his name because nor do I care, but I should. But sorry. But people are like, Audric Estime is there. Why aren't you guys grabbing him? And I'm like, I'll have to bring that up. Like there must be a reason why this guy is still
He's
out there.
not hitting holes properly. His vision's off, his style's off. Now, do you know who he would be a great back to sit behind though? Is he would be a great dude to sit behind Jonathan Taylor in the Colts. And I say that because the Colts have a very good offensive line.
Yeah.
Another team that he would actually be fairly good to sit behind would actually also be the Jets, because they have actually a pretty good offensive line with the New York Jets. Like, they're not amazing, but they're actually pretty good, and they could use some help. Basically, any team that has a single running back and a good offensive line that plays some variation of a power run game, Estime would actually be a good addition to add to their team. And I think that's a reasonable approach. I do not think that the Chargers have a good enough offensive line in your current iteration to bring in Estime. Now, I do think that Estime might be a good addition for your team in the offseason. So if you were to keep, let's say Hampton stays, obviously, because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
And then let's say you got, let's say you bring
Kamani
back.
will probably stay as well.
Well, no, but the thing is, Estime is like 5'10" and like 230.
Okay. So he's like
So he's just like just built like a brick wall, right? And so he is very fitting for this power running style that the Chargers are wanting to run. But he needs to get to a spot where he can rebuild himself. He needs to get to a spot where he can do the thing. And as long as your team invests better in their offensive line and with your attempted running style, I think that he would make a good fit, but not for right now. I don't think he would make a good fit for right now, because
that's probably a good point.
Yeah. I think in the off season that would be a good option. And just generally speaking, I think that he would be a better fit for like a Buffalo Bills team. I think he would be a better fit for, say, the New England Patriots right now, who are playing out of their damn minds.
They are playing out of their damn minds, and they have the absolute easiest schedule I think I've ever seen in a team take. So their path to wherever they're going is...
Yeah. Now, I suspect that they're going to end up with a bit of a brick wall when it comes to like the earlier rounds of the playoffs and stuff like that, where they're going to go up against a better team. But nonetheless, that should not take away from what the Patriots are putting on film right now, which is a team that is
they're playing well.
They flipped the switch. Like,
and
good for them.
I like Drake May. I like the way he plays. They're building right, and Vrabel is doing his thing. Nav's one of his questions. I just want to get back to it later. Like, unless you want to do it now. He says, no, not that one. The one before that. Since we don't have Jack on here, Oh, I thought he was asking like our opinion on his team. He wants to know what we think our team's identity is. Huh. Okay.
So let's come back to that once I break down the Broncos game real quick here.
Yeah.
So the Broncos struggled a lot. So the Broncos had again, I'm going to say it again publicly. I want to see someone in advance of the Cowboys game throw a bagel on a string and lead Wattenberg out of the stadium somewhere into like the dark alley of a parking lot somewhere and just like lock him back out. I'm sure he's a great dude, and I'm sure all of that is true and whatnot.
And then Bradley can go get a room, get a boat together.
I've got no reason to believe that there's anything like personally wrong with Wattenberg as a guy. That's not the comment. It's just, he does have a last name that lends yourself to thinking of bagels. And
wait, are you not? Wait, Richie, are you? I thought you were going to say something else, but then I got to remember that you are north of the border. His last name is Wattenberger, and you mentioned
no, Wattenberg.
Wattenberg, right? And then your guys' next game is against the Cowboys, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, what's famous in Texas, there's this beef that goes on between Californians and Texans about who's got a better burger place. California's In and Out, Texas is Whataburger. I mean, what a better place for him to just set up shop. Just
Wattenberg, Whataburger. I mean, the names are similar.
yeah,
I mean, the names are very similar. So Wattenberg, Whataburger. Do you know what? Let's set him up for an ad that starts filming Sunday,
yeah. There you
4
go.
o'clock Eastern Standard.
Now you're cooking.
You know, and look, good on him. He can make some extra cash just as long as it's, you know, in the form of an advertisement. And I'd like to see Alex Forsyth come in at center, and we can go from there. Either way, the play that we saw from the offensive center position was atrocious in this game. The Giants defensive line showed exactly what I thought we were going to see, that they were very good. Like, they were very, very good.
Who was the best guy you thought on their line?
Burns.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He seemed to be the most disruptive that I could tell.
Yeah, he does. That's I
Sorry,
think he's
sorry. Let me take that back. He was the one that you noticed the most, just because he
yes.
had the like, he just had the visual that you were able to capture.
Isn't he number 9 or something? Or he's got like
Yeah,
a single digit?
yeah. But I actually think that Sexy Dexy there was probably the
Yep.
unsung hero, because I think a lot of folks just ignore the big dude in the middle.
Dude, Dexter Lawrence, man.
And that dude is
Menace.
special. He is special.
Yeah.
And when you look at what he was able to do, he was able to chew up the middle of the field and really do what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, dude. Burns and Dexter Lawrence. And then they have just higher end draft picks who aren't really producing, but are still just they're still really good 2s and 3s. Thibodeau and all those guys. Yeah.
Thibodeau was a guy that you thought would do better.
Yeah.
But when you actually look at his college film coming out, he was more raw than he was giving credit for. And so
He come from Oregon. Was he in Oregon? If I'm not mistaken.
I honestly can't remember. I just remember watching his film coming out, and everyone was like, "Oh, the guy," and I was like, "He's good," but you know.
Oh, and then they have Abdul Carter too. Damn.
Yes. Yeah. But either way, I was very impressed with the Giants' defensive line. And then once you kind of got past the defensive line, though, nothing to write home about, in my opinion.
No.
It's the D line that really set them apart and was able to get them pressure. And the Broncos really struggled. The Broncos' offensive line was not in a good spot. I need to rewatch Palczewski there at the left guard position. He's typically a very good player, so I would be quite surprised if he really did struggle. But I think most of the issues came from center, which then you have pressure right up the middle. You're then going to get the guards that have to shift their focus to protect the dude that can't do his damn job.
Yeah.
I mean, just anyways, it's just freaking annoying. And so
I was gonna say about your game. I was gonna say about the Broncos. I'm like, man, you guys' offense seems to be really struggling. And then I see what happens in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, what the hell? What did I just see? What did I just read too? Like, after the game, I'm like, for 3 quarters, no shows, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, now we have to play. Here we go.
Yeah, so the Broncos literally scored an upper tier game in terms of points, and did it all in the third quarter or fourth quarter. Sorry, fourth quarter.
Like what?
So now, I know a lot of folks here are not Broncos fans. Okay, so that's cool. Don't think anything less of you or anything like that for it, but there's a few things that you probably don't know. Okay, so I want to quickly just give kind of 3 quick tidbits, and I'm wanting everyone's thoughts. Number 1, this game was the Demaryius Thomas induction into the Ring of Fame game. Okay, this was a massive game for Broncos country. This was like the game that we had circled on the calendar, because DT is kind of one of those types of players for the Broncos franchise. He was always kind of quiet but productive, and always the type of
Torn in
dude that
everybody's side.
oh
That's
yeah,
yeah,
like
we're wearing a Bronco.
yeah, and he was the dude that always would say like, "Hey guys, how are you? Nice to meet you." Blah blah blah. He didn't care what team the fans were and stuff, and so he was like annoyingly polite, right? Like to a point where it was just like you were raised right, despite the fact that if you actually look at his history, he had one of the roughest upbringings ever.
He's just like, is this
Um,
guy trolling me? But he's
yeah,
trolling me.
yeah, like yeah, it was almost Philip Rivers like, you know what I mean? Like Philip Rivers was like one of the nicest dudes, and
He
it,
was nice. He just didn't cuss. He would still call you terrible
yeah,
though.
no, but DT was even more so than that. He didn't cuss, and he was actually nice and polite. So that was number one. Number two, a lot of people don't remember or know DT in the latter 2 years or so of his life, maybe no, 3, 4 years of his life, had some major problems. He had a car accident in the kind of one of the final years of his career when he was with the Texans, and there was some thoughts that he may have had some like drug abuse or alcohol abuse. That turned out not to be the case. What it likely turned out to be, and it wasn't ever made public, was he was starting to get the onset of CTE.
Oh wow.
Several years later, DT died in his Georgia home
Yeah.
at the age of 33. Now, what makes last game so special? DT Ring of Fame, Broncos score exactly 33 points in the fourth quarter to win.
So you're telling me it's scripted?
So, I mean, like, it doesn't get more coincidental than that.
Dude, your guys' last two games have been bizarre, man, and have had bizarre endings. Um, yeah, but look, you're coming out with
Sorry,
a
one sec.
W.
Robert, I will absolutely come back to this question once we're done the Broncos game. And thank you for joining. I really do appreciate it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are still getting the W, so that's all that matters. It's just so bizarre. These last two, your guys' last two games between, and I did see a meme that I'm not gonna say I liked, but it had the Jets and Giants and it had a Bronco, but it had two tall buildings in it, and I was just like, oh my god. But yeah, dude, you guys something with New York teams always make it interesting with the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, it was super interesting how it worked out in the Giants game. That being said, there's a few things that kind of need to be said at the very end of that game. There was no reason why it should have come down. Like the last score that the Giants had should never have occurred.
That was a flag, right? Wasn't there a penalty?
That was based on a flag, and then it ended up going in. That should never have occurred, like at all.
Okay.
In addition to that, Giants fans and stuff are complaining about a whole host of other things in the game, like reffing and other stuff. But if you look at the calls, like as an example, there was holding and pass interference on Hufanga, who was just about to basically blast dart in the end zone, and that would have been a safety. If the flag was called there as well, it is also a safety. And that was blatant and obvious on screen as well. And yes, the Giants kicker did miss 2 extra points, and that is like, not great, but it is what it
No.
is. And so I just think it's
All he
important
had
to
to do
look.
was make that last one.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think it's important to look at things a little bit more holistically in terms of like how the game was actually played, which is there was a bunch of skewed calls, in my opinion, against the Broncos. I think we had something like 7 penalties for 127 yards.
Wow. Did you say 7 for that many?
I think it was 7 or 12. I can't remember which, but either
So
way, it
was
was something
Dart just a
obscene.
DPI merchant or something? Like
Right. So this is what my point though is, right? Is that like the game was so badly skewed in terms of how the refs were calling the game that it was egregious, like actually egregious in terms of how they called it. And also, let's keep in mind, number one in penalties called against them this season was the New York Giants. Number two was the Denver Broncos. And the fact that the Broncos had so many penalties still called against them and the Giants had so few, it makes no sense. Right?
I didn't know that about either
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. And so there's a whole host of just like things like, check, 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 check. And it doesn't add up, right? It just does not make sense. So there's that. Now, I do also want to talk about the Dre Greenlaw thing.
Oh yeah.
So, as some of you may or may not have seen, Dre Greenlaw had a bit of a thing.
I think he was sticking up for his teammate and let his emotions get the best of him.
He was, and this is actually what I wanted to bring forward. So, I understand that Brad Allen there is, we'll just call him a very small man compared to the other men on the field. But Brad Allen still shoved another player.
40, I believe.
Number 40, which is Justin Strnad, who had an interception as a result of Alex Singleton, Broncos country, you owe that man an apology, who blew up Cam Skattebo, like literally sent him backwards on his ass, and was like chasing after Dart, and then forced Dart to throw early and right into the arms of Strnad on the interception. Sean Payton, after the game, stated that play where Strnad intercepted and Singleton blew it up was what he believed was the game changer in terms of the pivotal play that flipped the script on that game. It basically gave the ball back to the Broncos.
Is that penalty yards?
That's correct. This is penalty yards. Robert, thank you. You are correct. Yeah. So that is pretty aggressively skewed. Like ticky-tacky stuff on the on the Giants that gave them, nothing really. Like 8 for 36 is not like, it's a lot of penalties, but it's like minimal yardage against them.
That's like no yards.
Yeah. Like it's
That's
almost
like 5-yard penalties. It's just 5-yard. Like I don't even know how you do that. How do you math that up?
That's what I'm saying. The math on that is so bizarre. It makes no sense, right? Whereas the Broncos are 12 for 127. It's like something is not right here. Like even the way that math adds up, it does not make sense, right? So, anyways, that was kind of, Robert. Thank you. You basically proved my point. So thank you. But
don't do it again. Just kidding.
But at the very end of the game, with the game-winning field goal, kind of a buzzer beater, if you will, that sort of thing, Brad Allen, the head referee, is wearing the white hat, just in case you're trying to figure out who's who and what's what. And he's wearing the white cap there. He now ends up in the middle of the field and is then having all the Broncos players, as you expect, rush on the field and be like, we won, we won, we won. And Brad Allen then proceeds to literally shove out of his way Justin Strnad. Now, that is not allowed. No. You are not allowed to do that. He literally two-hand shoved him. He is not in danger. He is not getting hurt or hit or pushed or anything. He knows where he's at because he realizes that he's trying to scramble off the field, and that's fine and fair. But you have no business shoving another player because, let's put it this way, and just because I kind of saw your reaction there, let's look at the reverse. If Strnad shoved the ref out of the way because he was in the huddle there, good Lord, would my God, would the narrative be different right now, right? Okay, 100%. And so that's my point. My point ultimately is, I don't give a crap who's bigger, who's smaller, whatever the case may be. This is not a, who's got the, the bigger upper body strength or who's got the. It is the actions that were taken that I take not offense to, but I take issue with. Then you have Dre Greenlaw, who was like hell, you're going to push my button.
Right.
And then ran after him and probably was giving him a little bit of peace of his mind about how he called the game
Which
and
is no
all the other
different
stuff.
than what coaches are probably saying to the refs too, right?
Yep, exactly.
So it's like,
And
what did this guy say that warranted a 1-game suspension? And then I'm thinking, okay, does he have already a book on him from his days in San Francisco that they said, okay, well, let's look at this, and this guy has got a pass? I don't know, man. It's I think that it's all Bush League. I think it's faults on two guys. I'm gonna put fault on Greenlaw as well, because you're a professional athlete. You should know better. You've been in the game for a minute. You just won. You could have just laughed in his face. You could have just been done that and been like, we got the W.
yeah, but here's the
Peace.
thing though. I'm going to push back on that as well. We have no idea what was actually said.
Right. Right. But the thing is,
He could have well said to the ref, "Stop pushing my teammate, you
yeah,
clown. Now get off the field." Now,
right.
he could have also said, "Push my teammate again and I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
Right? So my point is, I'm willing to be fair and balanced in my analysis of the circumstances and say he could have gone B, he could have gone A. My point though is, in the United States of America, you got the Second Amendment, which is protected speech.
Sure.
And in addition to that, Buddy Boy over there shoved one of his teammates, which should give Greenlaw, in my opinion, a little bit more latitude in the circumstances and situation.
I mean, the thing that's not doing Greenlaw any favors was him having to be held back from one of his teammates or whatever, being pulled away. That's look. I'm seeing it from both sides. Look, I've been complaining about the refs, so I'm on your side essentially. But I'm like, I have to see both sides of this. Like, these zebras get away with too much BS, right? And we don't know if something's coming in their earpiece from New York or whatever, right? But yeah, man, like 1-game suspension, like it's like if you guys weren't winning, I'd be like, oh no. But I mean, you've done this much thus far without him. So as a Broncos fan, I wouldn't be stressing, but I'd still be pretty ticked off about it.
Yeah, what I would actually like to see is the NFL come out and discipline Brad
Oh,
Allen.
okay. Well, I would crap in one hand and wish another one, see which one fills up first, because this clown we have running the league, that ain't gonna happen, man. Goodell needs to be gone. I have no
Right.
clue.
But this is kind of what my point though is, right? Is that, like, if you're gonna let me put it this way. Let's just say Dre Greenlaw said some of the most appalling things possible to Brad Allen.
Sure.
Okay? Like, go all the way there. Like, all of the most awful things that one can imagine. I don't think that that's what he said, but let's just go all the way there for the sake of argument. Cool, no problem. Let's also not forget that after Dre Greenlaw said those really, really bad words that Brad Allen was really offended by, that he threw the yellow flag on the field and then pointed at Greenlaw. Now, that is pathetic and sad in and of itself, because he got his feelings hurt because a player said bad words to him, and he's just like, so anywho, it is what it is.
No,
But
I get it.
Let's just assume that it was awful.
Sure.
My
It was
point here
something.
is
It was
simple.
something, Richie.
Sure. And I'm willing to go all the way there, even in this example. My point is this: Brad Allen is not suspended. Dre Greenlaw is. Brad Allen shoved an NFL player on the field intentionally for zero good reason and has suffered no consequences publicly. Dre Greenlaw has publicly suffered public humiliation as a result of what the league has done.
I cannot wait till Brad Allen refs another game in Denver. That's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be theater. I can't wait for the
Yeah.
signs and the
Oh
fans.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It'll be well. I've already said that. I would like a campaign from Denver fans to put together a white and black striped tutu to send to him. Because that's about how he was reacting and acted in that particular situation. And basically something to just drive that point home to saying, stop being a pansy.
Yeah.
But either way, I think there was major ref issues with the game. I think there was a huge inequality. I mean, even Navman pointed out, was like, how did that even happen? How, just how?
He has a comment. He says in the next 5 to 10 years, I feel the refs will be a thing of the past. I think Goodell or somebody came out today and said that they're looking into the use of AI for officiating, which I'm not going to jump on any side of that fence because AI can be easily manipulated and show you things you don't want to see. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think there's got to be something, man, because in these coaches, I did see Peyton kind of go off, but these coaches are kind of like, you kind of got to watch your P's and Q's. You got like I've seen Harbaugh, he's on the sidelines like screaming, cussing, and they can't do anything about it. It's and all you can do is get a report at the end of the day, or you can file a grievance or some.
Well, yeah. What you can do as a coach is you take the film from the thing and you send it back into the league. But what my biggest issue with this, I don't want to necessarily slander the refs. I do actually think that that's a pretty difficult job, and they are in a
Seems
difficult
tough,
spot.
yeah.
I do give credit and grace where it makes sense to get to give it and do so. My point here is in this particular scenario is this is egregious. Like this is not a scenario where I feel there's any kind of leeway to be given to the ref, especially given how the league treated Greenlaw after the altercation. I mean, you're dealing with a 6'3", 250-pound linebacker who has gone through an entire football game, who's got both adrenaline and testosterone going through him like nobody's business,
Yep.
who then just watched a ref who his head coach in like 3 plays ago, like just to put things in perspective, like less than 3 minutes ago was just screaming at the same dude on the field.
Yeah,
Right?
I think he was like taking one from the team, not expecting any sort of suspension. I think he was being a good
A good
teammate.
teammate. Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly.
think he was being a good
Yeah.
teammate. But who knows exactly what he said? I know how you hinted. Like, did he say some bad words? Right. But if he did say like anything like threatening, well, there we go. Because then we have an issue, which I'm sure he did. But between two dudes, like, hey, go f yourself, hey, f you, right? That's fine. But they want to, be all black and white, and there's no gray area. Then it is what it is. But I,
So I'm going to quickly give a quick answer on this one. I agree with you, by the way, DZ, on that one. I completely agree. I had my mind changed when Ref Guru was on
yep,
this show.
same.
Like
I did.
and dude, you're gonna have to do more than this game to change my mind when it comes to that. Like, I'm sorry, you just are.
Because if they are full time, then we have to worry about the league and their
League,
little
correct.
shenanigans,
Yeah.
and like how they want to. The league is already forcing organizations, right? Because you're an owner of a team, an organization, a brand, or whatever. You have to abide by guidelines on certain things. Therefore, I like the helmet stickers, the end zones, things like that. Maybe ownership, they're like, I don't want that on my field, but you have to. So it's yeah, full time refs. Oh my goodness. I remember we were like, yes, full time. Let's make them. And then
I literally I that was my A and B moment. Like
yeah,
I was I I truly give Ref Guru all the credit in the world for that episode when he was on this very show. I literally came into the show having all my talking points to demand full-time referees, thinking that that's exactly where I wanted to
It would
go.
be like the president having control of all the judges,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
And like,
yeah,
hey, whatever I say goes, and that's how
yeah,
they rule. And that's it would get dirty quick.
yeah. So, a few things I just want to bring up on this as well. Bo Nix played like crap for 3 quarters and then played like an Iron Man in the
Yeah,
fourth.
good.
I think that we have learned that there's just a few things. I'm just going to go rapid fire here in the Broncos game just to kind of get all of it out the way. The those that are critiquing Sean Payton, I think, need to go check the game film. I've watched a good portion of it back already, and I'm going to watch even more of it later on to get a full appreciation coming into the Cowboys game. Bo Nix missed a tremendous amount of open wide receivers in this game, including not looking past the shallow routes. He ignored some of the deeper routes that were not Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin had some struggles in this game catching the football. He's kind of reverted back a little bit to what we saw in his rookie season, dropping balls, letting his quarterback down, that sort of thing. He's having a much better season overall because the early part of the season, he looked like he had turned a corner. He's seemingly made an additional 3 rights and has now made a left turn and not good. We'll just put it that way. Marvin Mims has kind of reignited himself.
Yeah, he had a good game.
And
so Richie, I have drops by teams because you kind of brought that up.
Yes.
Broncos are third right now in the league in drops with 15. So that, you kind of mentioned he's kind of back to his thing and drop balls. We are fifth with 12 tied. Let me see. I'm just going to check on our other guys real quick. Raiders only have 5 drops. So they're third at the bottom. Good for them. And then let's see, Chiefs are 9. They have 9 drops. They're tied with 6 other teams. So yeah, that's obviously not helping your young QB out.
No, and so there's that going on. We also struggled to run the ball because of a great Giants defense. However, and this is the caveat here, you don't let up running the ball. You got to keep going and keep going and keep going because you eventually wear out the defensive line, especially when you're at the Mile High Stadium. And what you wanted to do is exactly what we ended up doing in the latter part of the third and in the early part of the fourth, which is we started to see your former running back who's playing amazing with the Broncos right now. Yeah. And so he's killing it with the Broncos as a running back. And then we also had RJ Harvey and Tyler Bidet, who made his reappearance back with the team, who, again, for all the Broncos country fans who were sitting there saying, Tyler Bidet, and you heard me saying, no, he's our number 3, sit down, shut up, hold my beer kind of thing. He's literally our number 3 running back and has basically had McLaughlin basically sit on the bench.
I feel like anytime I hear or see Bidet during a game, it's like, because it's not a lot, but I always feel like it's like in a clutch moment or he did something really well on special teams or something like that.
He also ran back a few returns and stuff as well, which has always been my thing. I always thought running backs would make for great return guys and stuff, and he had some good returns as well. So, like, my point is this: Tyler Bidet is a stud on the team. Sean Payton loves him. He puts in all the work and does all the things. He was looking on fire in preseason last year, got hurt, and has already now kind of started his resurgence again. I truly think that he is the right type of running back for Sean Payton because he is the well-rounded guy. He is the guy that RJ Harvey is working to get towards. He's like Tyler Bidet is what RJ Harvey wants to get towards. He wants to be able to pass pro, pass catch, and run. RJ Harvey can run, can't pass pro that well, and is okay at catching the ball, but has made some mistakes and stuff in that regard as well. So at the end of the day, Harvey's going to get there. He's a young running back who's still trying to learn the nuances of a fairly complicated offense. He's thinking too much, which is, I think, where most of his problems are coming from. And then once he gets everything kind of under his belt, where this is more of a I go and do, I don't need to think, that's where you're going to start seeing RJ Harvey really kill it. But until that happens, there's a reason why Bidet is the guy that's active on game day. Like it's just literally that simple. Like he is a great player for the Denver Broncos offense. We really do need a bigger running back, and I think that's what we're going to start seeing from an Adam Prentice / a Nate Atkins, who's a tight end, running back, fullback hybrid. I think that Sean Payton is going to start to revert back to some of those old school Bill Parcells days. By the way, we're already starting to see some of those jumbo sets come into play.
So you're saying he wants to simplify the offense, I guess?
No, he's wanting to turn it back to more gritty.
Okay, because I've heard Bronco fans, and I know you kind of just went over this, but they're like, holy hell, Sean, like you need to cut back on the screens and all that nonsense.
It's very complicated how he runs plays, how he layers plays, but that's also why the wide receivers are often open, right? So the thing is that like you can complain and whine all you want. So you keep doing your thing and complaining about Sean Payton, but if you actually look at the product that's on the field and you layer the field into the three different kind of phases or lines on the field, at minimum the intermediate and the deep are almost always open in the Sean Payton offense.
I mean, yeah, dude, against us, I mean, wide ass open Cortland Sutton. But I think for the most part, if I was a Broncos fan, I would just be looking at these last two games, not saying that fourth quarter, because that fourth quarter was pretty epic. But if you go back, 7 quarters, the last two games you guys had, that offense looked pretty stagnant. So they're like, hey, chill out, dumb it down a little bit, and let's just get going. That's where I would think that they were probably going at.
Yeah, so I think what the problem that I saw in that game was kind of two major issues. One was the center just screwed up left and right. He was snapping the ball high, snapping the ball low, snapping the ball late, not blocking well, letting pressures through, and Bo Nix is then like head on swivel, can't focus, can't do the thing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the big issue there. In addition to that, if we were to put in a different offensive center and kind of own the run first approach, which is what I want the identity of my Broncos to be, man, that is like we are one of the top 5 rushing teams in terms of rush attempts, if I'm not mistaken. I would like us to keep that, and then I think we'd have better run success if we put in Forsyth instead of Wattenberg. And then I think that we would then also end up in a position where we could do play action pass, which is effectively going to be a pass that is then kind of played off of what would be a run look, which would be also playing into Forsyth's strength as well. So I kind of see that as a nice dovetail. So there's that. Bo Nix is throwing off platform and his footwork is crap. If you look at what's happening in a lot of these early downs of these games, he is rushing his throws and he's throwing back foot, sailing passes. He's kind of holding the ball as he's throwing because he's like hesitant to want to throw the ball because he's got pressure coming from everywhere and stuff. I don't think it's a good idea. I also think, and this is where Gage Madrid, who is Broncos syndicate, he and I disagree. You see him on the 5280 podcast. He and I agree on a lot, but I kind of disagree with him a little bit. I believe that the Broncos are concerned with Bo Nix's footwork, that he keeps on regressing. Like his fallback is bad habits. If that makes sense, if that kind of like all adds up to kind of those who are watching the show here. And they're trying to find ways of making Bo being able to make faster choices and faster decisions with where to put the ball so that he can properly plant his feet and not throw with poor footwork. And that was a big issue. And yes, Nabman, you are correct. That was his issue coming out of college, which was super smart kid, real bad feet, was
I
kind of the
wonder if
general.
I'm sure it's already happened. He's had what? This is his second
Second
off
year.
season. So unfortunately, this stuff doesn't get fixed during the season. You can clean it up, but
He already worked with the quarterback coach in House, I think is his name, like the quarterback guru in the offseason. He
yeah,
also
so
worked with Drew Brees.
he's gonna
So
have
the
to keep doing
problem
it.
here is he's gonna have to repeat that next year as well, in my
Yeah.
opinion, to really overcome it. But the good thing about the quarterback position is it's such a valuable position on the team that if you have the mental toughness, which Bo does have, in my opinion, you're willing to give dudes like that a little bit more rope,
Leeway.
if you will, and
Yeah.
leeway, because he's obviously got the clutch factor.
And can spend resources to kind of help him out too as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. And resources are certainly not an issue for this ownership group. We'll just put
No,
it that way.
not at all.
Okay. And then so the other thing that we saw in this particular game was up tempo. The up tempo offense and the no huddle offense. This team's going to have to work out how to use it more. We're going to have to work out how to rush the tempo, how to adjust the tempo, that sort of thing. Peyton Manning was perhaps the best at it ever, maybe in the NFL, where he would jump on the field and he would literally adjust up and down the tempo as the game progressed and would run similar plays because it would throw off the defense. And Bill Belichick came
when
out
you
and said
said
that about
Peyton,
him
I'm like
too.
having to like dig through the file cabinets. I'm like blowing off the dust, trying to remember some games with
Yeah.
him at the line. I just keep hearing Omaha.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
pops in my head. But yeah, he
but
was
he
pretty
he
good.
adjusted tempo. So he, like, for example, if you look at what happened in 2013 when we had like the highest scoring defense or offense rather in the entire league, Peyton would go like huddle, and we would like slow things way down and like run the ball and run certain plays. And then like halfway down the field, he'd go no huddle and go right down for a touchdown. And so we would sliding scale adjust things to intentionally throw the other team off.
I think that is probably a savvy vet move as well. And if you've got a savvy vet and a decent OC, which I'm assuming you guys do, that kind of just comes with time. Like, I don't know if that's like in Nick's wheelhouse just yet, but let's see, like year 3 or 4. I'm sure, as he gets on and he matures and whatever, you'll probably see some great things out of him.
My point is that he had some great up tempo stuff at the end of the fourth quarter there. I mean, 33 points is 33 points. Yeah. So like,
I don't even know how how that happens, man. Like,
and so
yeah,
maybe. I think I agree with this. Manning, Brees, and Brady. And Brees was obviously Sean Payton's quarterback. So that's one thing to note, is that was a Sean Payton kind of coach, like because Payton coached Brees to kind of get to that level. And Manning is a staple actually within the Broncos organization. If you actually look at Peyton Manning, he continues to live in the Denver area with his family. And he is around the Broncos facility regularly. He and Bo apparently chat on a modestly regular basis as well. So I have to give the sheriff credit, like legit credit where credit's due. He is doing everything he can to try to leave a legacy in the NFL with the Broncos organization. And I believe a lot of it has to do with Pat Bowlen in terms of Peyton Manning and just the fact that he has a tremendous amount of
I wonder
respect.
if you're seeing him doing that more with Denver than you are with Indianapolis.
He is.
Because I'm wondering, it would make sense with why, probably because Irsay's gone, which, Why would he come back? I don't know. Does that make any sense? Like maybe he was
Well,
buddies with
Bolin
Ertz,
died. So the thing that a lot of Broncos fans kind of forget and don't realize is that Manning gave credit to Pat Bolin as being the primary reason he came to Denver. Pat Bolin has been long past for
right?
several years. In fact, Bolin died before Irsay did. Now Irsay died not long ago, but I actually believe that Peyton Manning, through the Denver organization, like just organizationally, there was a certain culture that was fostered, I think, within the Denver Broncos organization, that while there was John Elway and how his approach was kind of tamped some of it down a little bit, there was still a large portion of it that had lingered from the Pat Bolin era that has still existed. And I think Peyton Manning had a tremendous amount of respect for the lasting, we'll call it legacy, that Pat Bolin left behind with the organization. And I think he felt that even after Pat Bolin passed and moved on, and the trust had to sell to the Walton Penner Group. And then I also think that Peyton Manning respected the Walton Penner Group for coming out and saying, no, we are a football team. Like, we are here for football. We are not here for Walmart and then football. We are here for football. And then proceeded to basically tell the city of Denver that, we don't want your money. We're building this crap ourselves. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? And proceeded to upgrade the stadium, even though they
Check,
knew they were getting
essentially.
rid of it, like to the tune of like $100 million. Like, this is not an ownership group that is basically saying I
No.
don't care. And I
Peyton's
think Peyton
smart.
Manning, yeah, he
We've
knows
seen
where.
him and his
Yeah,
brother dibble and dabble in all kinds of stuff for years since they've retired.
yeah,
They're smart. They're smart business
yeah.
people. Where would you want to be? You want to be with the Colts, who get like zero attention, or do you want to be with the Broncos, who are loaded and have a good
Ascending,
team? Yeah,
and ascending at this point too, I think is fair.
I feel
So
bad
yeah,
for the Colts because they're a hell of a team, and have had a pretty good organization. It's just they don't get the national publicity. They are a little bit this year, but yeah.
yeah, I agree. Now, I mean, he does. Peyton Manning, to his credit, does actually dabble over in Indy as well, but there is certainly more attention when you look at the public persona, where he is spending a lot more time over on the Broncos side. And in addition to that, Nabman, his Hall of Fame induction was as a Bronco.
Hmm.
Which is something to take note of. Just something, just generally speaking, to take note of. Tom Brady obviously will go in as you would think, actually, as a New England Patriot, but
Yeah, that one will be interesting. I don't see him
yeah,
going as a Buck, but yeah,
no, but I mean, he literally talks of Robert Kraft like a second father.
yeah,
I mean, like, that's just like, it is what it is. And frankly, he speaks very highly of Belichick, even in retirement and everything as well. So I think it's more of just he wanted to show that he was the reason. And frankly, I think Brady did show that to the world. So good for him. Onwards and upwards, guys. Let's quickly deal with the Raiders. Unfortunately, Raiders were not able to join us today. We did have a comment about the Chiefs in terms of being back at full strength with their weapons and playing better and all that sort of stuff.
oh
So
brother,
I think it's a good plan to kind of roll them all together. I think at some point Pete Carroll's going to have a bit of a come to Jesus moment, if you will, where he's going to have to realize that what he's doing right now isn't working. He's going to have to kind of go back to maybe some of his old Seattle days, where he kind of fostered that competition, and he needs to stop trying to handpick guys. I think the old way, where it was a competition, is probably the better way to run a team. I think that the Raiders organization deserves a coach that is going to try to foster that within the team, to allow the team to be competitive again. You also need to know what you have on the team, for next season and the remainder of this season, so that you know where your true pain points are, and also how you're trying to fill those roles, not just with whom. So if you're trying to go power, well, it makes no sense to have outside zone guys, for example. If you're trying to go outside zone, it makes no sense to have inside zone or inside power in terms of offensive linemen. You need to really do some adjustments. You really need to start getting a lot more creative, and you need to stop being so bloody stubborn.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks talking on other people's teams because, well, Nav says Raiders need an identity. I want a 15-yard penalties rough. I just want to see something going on with Pete. Maybe this new GM and definitely Gino. I think performance-wise, and this stems from the quarterback play, right? I think that would be the biggest thing. And then they've got some injuries and some key players. That engine that makes that or that player that makes that engine run has not been out there, and Brock, so they're missing that guy. There's something obviously really wrong, and that being said, we can joke and be like, that's good for us, but at the same time, it makes this division lesser. So it'll be interesting to see how they go forward, especially in the off season. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I am not the guy that's going to come out and be like, haha, the Raiders suck again and all that kind of stuff. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Raiders remain competitive. Obviously, I like the Broncos to beat the Raiders. It is what it is. And I'm not going to be apologetic for that. But I do think that the Raiders fans kind of deserve a team that shows that they care about the fan base by putting a more competent product on the field. And I think the part that really irks me the most about the Raiders right now is I don't think that they can even claim that they're putting the right players in the right positions for them to put the best product they can with what they have right now on the field. They're
one of them is that. Are you talking about QB or offensive line play?
Offensive line.
Yeah.
Like to me, at some point, someone's ego is coming into play here.
Something's going on.
Something is off. Something is wrong. Something needs to be fixed. And my concern actually isn't the fact that it's Pete Carroll per se. My concern is that it's Pete Carroll's son.
I think they've got a few coaches on that staff that Pete brought over that he had to bring over, like not everybody just joins you, right? And I think there's a few coaches on that Raider staff that shouldn't be in those positions, specifically that offensive line, but there's multiple, there's like two other guys on that staff that should not be coaching those positions. And if I was a Raiders fan, you just hope, moving on, looking into next season, that they're not in those positions. Yeah, we did. I mean, here come the damn Chiefs again, because, oh boy, look out. That's all that everybody's talking about. And I'm not going to pretend like I've been watching their games closely, but yeah, I'm seeing their scoring, their points or something. It's like, it's reverting back to the 2018 season that Mahomes put up, or I believe, and it's like his highest point scoring or whatever it is. So yeah, they're definitely a threat, and it's not what I wanted to see coming into this season. But here we go. It's like Groundhog Day every year with the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're gonna have a couple weeks probably where, you're gonna have a few weeks now where they're getting back to full strength. I think the real test for the Chiefs is going to be when they play the Broncos defense.
You guys haven't played yet, right?
We have not played yet.
Yeah, damn.
And we're playing. I want to say it's not this week, but next week.
After the Cowboys game?
I think it's after the Cowboys game. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think it's after the Cowboys game. And so that's that. But I think that when the Chiefs play a tougher defense, like a truly tougher defense, like no one expected the Ravens to not to not play up to what we thought was their potential this year. That's like a big outlier. And so I think that when the Chiefs go against a divisional opponent who typically plays them tight anyway, and if the Broncos are able to really put up some real fits and spurts for them and really put them under pressure, Mahomes does not do well with pressure that prevents him from playing off script. I also think that the Chiefs wide receivers, while they're good, I think that I just think that they're not going to do as well as we've seen in previous games. I think the Broncos defense is just good enough to do what they need to do to stop them.
I mean, yeah, you guys definitely have the defense
Yeah.
and probably that scheme. I think that would really give Mahomes fits for his
Yeah.
play style. You guys have very athletic linebackers, good D line, solid secondary. That's going to be a really interesting game. I would have thought I was excited about the Colts, but the Colts don't have that good of a defense. It's like an average defense. It's just their offense. So that's what I was looking at. But yeah, from your perspective, that'd be really interesting because I don't know who the Chiefs have on their schedule. I haven't looked at it.
Well, I think just some of the teams that were in the top tier, like the Eagles, struggled a little bit.
They
For
don't look.
example,
They
they
don't
don't
look
look
good.
normal,
No.
and that sort of thing. And in addition to that, you got the Ravens that aren't playing up to speed. So the Chiefs have had a little bit of a paper tiger when it comes to some of their scheduling opponents who finished or won. And then you expected some of those teams to be better than they are this season, and they've regressed. And that's fine.
You brought up the Patriots earlier, and something that kind of like was in the back of my head was, about playoffs and such. And to me, it's like whoever's healthiest at the end and like gets in there. And I could see the Patriots, who have been relatively healthy, the Chiefs stay very healthy, your Broncos stay very healthy. You guys' injury reports.
We got a few dudes that are hurt now, but yes.
Yeah, but for the overall, right? That's a big key factor that I look at towards the end of the season, especially some of these teams. Like if my Chargers got into the playoffs, they'd be a one and done again, without a doubt. So
you just asked it, Nav, man. Thanks for asking it. I'm glad you asked a question. That's fantastic. It's good for you. You are definitely allowed that one question, and it was if you can ask a question or have a question, and I'm sure you do. But that in and of itself is a question.
Are the Raiders on a bye week this week? By the way,
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Nav, I think you guys are on a bye, right?
And I'm just joking, my man. So we'll go ahead and wait for you to ask your question. In the meantime, I'm going to give a quick score prediction for my Broncos and the Cowboys.
Okay.
Sorry, I just to kind of cap off the show here and everything as we kind of go through the final stretch here. I actually have this as a loss for my Denver Broncos.
Where's it at? Is it in Jerry World?
I believe it's at Jerry World.
So their offense has been playing really good. Dak's been playing amazing ball, but I still believe that their defense is atrocious.
It's Cowboys at Denver. So the Cowboys are in Mile High.
This game might play into your guys' favor, man. I think if your guys' defense can slow them up, and I think your offense can muster enough points.
My issue is I've seen 2 consecutive games of challenges.
That is true.
And I'm just a realist, like when it comes right down to it, is that at some point you're not going to win the game that you should win.
Sure.
Because like we should have won the game. I agree. We should have won both New York games, and we did. That's great. But guess what? Besides the point, we did not look good through most of both of those games. Like if we're going to be honest and call a duck, exactly as it is, we did not look great. Now, 33 points the fourth quarter. We killed it in the fourth quarter against the Giants. And that's insane. Great. So I'm not taking that away from my team. We absolutely stepped up when we won that game. We deserve all the credit in the world for the win. A win is a win, and that's great. However, 33 points in one quarter of football is historical, and I mean that quite literally. It was historical. You cannot bank on that. And so my point here is The Cowboys offense is playing pretty well. And the Broncos defense has had some ebbs and flows in the earlier part of games. At some point, if we don't turn the page and do better, we won't catch up and we will lose. And so my prediction is that we are probably going to do it this week against the Cowboys. I'm also hoping that I'm wrong, but I see this game as a loss. I see this game as being somewhere in the, I'm going to call it somewhere at the 27-31 Dallas score point, like in terms of points scored and stuff.
I just want to see the. What I forget, the Cowboys are 3-3-1. They've got that tie on there. You guys are 3-point favorites. Okay. You guys moved from 2.5 to 3. Okay. McGlinchey, they're talking about that. Jonah Ellis. Let me see. Because like the Cowboys to me are confusing. This is complete. Like, if you look at it, offensive rank, Broncos are 24th right now. Cowboys are 3rd. Defensive rank, Broncos are 4th. Cowboys are 28th. This is just this is kind of bizarre. Geez Louises. Well, AI thinks the Cowboys are going to do this 28-24.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at it from an objective perspective. I just think that the Broncos have struggled the last couple games. I'm not convinced that they have figured it out yet. The Broncos have also not been willing to make the center change, which would probably give our quarterback better vision on the field, et cetera, et cetera. Also make us run the ball more. My big thing is I want a center that can push dudes out the way to force the run game and force it down the opponent's throat, which then actually wears them out more, et cetera, et cetera. We're not doing it, not yet at least. And so I could potentially see this being a problem for my team. That's my point. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
It does look like it could be a problem. I mean, you're gonna need your offense to play a hell of a lot better. Minus that fourth quarter they have these last 2 games. If they do that, this should be definitely a win for you guys.
I agree. I'm just not convinced that they'll do it. That's my point.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the Jets were ranked. I knew the Cowboys. I mean, the Giants defense was good. I think I'm with you. I think I'm going to agree with you and I'm just going to piggyback off you because you have a better insight and you have a better intuition about what your team's doing. So yeah, I think I'm just going to have to agree with you on that one for that. And then let's see, the Chiefs. Who the hell are they playing? We don't have to really go over that. We've got Thursday Night Football. Vikings are coming into SoFi. Chargers 3.5-point favorites. How that's possible, I have no clue. Everybody says Wentz sucks. That could be true. I'm just petrified of their defense. They kind of remind me of your guys' Broncos, Richie, the blitzing they do, which, you know.
Commanders versus Chiefs, by the way.
Oh, and I think Jaden Daniels is out.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are getting another win. Jesus criminy. They're favored because Wentz's statue. I did see that Wentz's his strong suit is against zone-style defenses, and that's primarily what Minter runs. And let's just face it, he's been picked apart for the last month. And O'Connell, I believe, is a decent play caller in this league. And people are picking the Chargers to win this, 24-20. I just don't see it after what I've witnessed these last few weeks. This defense is a shell of itself. There's something going on. I think they lose again, and they become sellers and try to recoup draft. That's my prediction. Everybody, Charger fans were like, we need to trade for Brees Hall. Like, we need to get this and that, get offensive linemen. Well, we only have 5 draft picks right now heading in, and knowing this GM, how he wants to build this team through the draft and supplement with free agency, I think they want more draft capital. I could see Quentin Johnson as a trade bait. I got this as a loss. I got the Chargers losing 24-20. Well, no, I don't want to say 20 because our kicker really doesn't miss. He's excellent. He's a bright spot. I say 24-21 Vikings. How they do it, I have no clue. I just don't have any faith in this team. I have faith in Herbert, but he can't just keep carrying this team on his back. Somebody else is going to have to show up in some aspect. Dicker the kicker, that's right, man. Most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL, obviously through minimum attempts. But yeah, man. And then as for the Chiefs, I've got them winning. What it is, I have no clue. It looks like the Commanders
have this
come back down to earth.
Just real quick. I have this as 27-21 Vikings in the Chargers game. A 6-point gap there. I think that'll be probably through a couple field goals and or a combination of a touchdown and missed extra point, some kind of variation thereof. And I think that this is going to be. I actually believe that the play caller, in terms of the head coach there for the Vikings, O'Connell, is going to be a difference maker, because I think Harbaugh hasn't really gone up against him in terms of directly yet, and I think he's way better than people are giving him credit for.
Oh, sure. Opinion. My problem with Greg Roman, our OC, is that he needs everything to be absolutely perfect. Like the O-line has to be there. The running backs have to be there. He needs that to be perfect to work. And what we've seen is extreme pass heavy, Justin just having to, wing it out there. And which, especially with this defense, them blitzing, like, give me a break, man. But I will say this. I want them to win, and it has to do with the uniform. The uniform they're going to be wearing Thursday night, in my opinion, is the best uniform the Chargers could ever wear. And I want that to become a thing going forward. And they're old navies. So this is an updated version. Their old ones, they didn't win in them at all. I don't think they had one win in them. So if they could win in this one, it's kind of a salute to San Diego. It would be great. But let's just say they drop this and they go to 500 ball, 4-4. I don't see them catching the Broncos. I don't see them catching the Chiefs. They're going to have to become sellers. We talked about the IR spots and that and yada, yada. We got to end the show, but I just don't see it. I don't see it, Richie.
I got this as a 21-19 Washington game.
Oh, my God. You're picking the – no, I'm not picking Washington. I got the Chiefs. I'm not betting against the Chiefs.
That's cool. I think that Wentz has done generally well against the Chiefs.
No, it's Mariota.
Mariota has, but I think that Wentz has put up some reasonable numbers against him.
Wait, Wentz is the QB for the Vikings.
Oh, so who's the Commanders guy then?
Mariota, because Wentz. Daniels is out.
Oh,
Jaden Daniels.
Okay. So, well, Mariota is a reasonable proxy.
Yeah,
for
he got them wins. Yeah,
he's when he's put in when it's needed, he's kind of done some okay stuff. He's not like amazing, but he's done some okay stuff.
Yeah.
I also think that he still has the ability to run, even though he gets hurt a lot, but he's now a backup. So he's not necessarily putting himself in harm's way all the time anymore. So I think Mariota will actually show up fairly well. I think the Commanders are starting to turn a bit of a corner where they're super close. And if the right set of circumstances present themselves, I think that the Commanders can certainly, do well against the Chiefs. I'm going to call this for the Commanders. I just think that the Chiefs
are 10.5 points favorites, Richie.
That's cool. Look,
I mean, look, yeah,
I am happy to be wrong, and it has happened before, but at the same time, I called us beating the Eagles, for example, on
yeah.
this show. We did. And everyone else in all the other podcasts in Broncos country said that we were going to lose. I called us to win after I saw how the Broncos were playing. I just thought we were well suited to win. So I I just think that the Commanders have a certain set of players that will cause problems for the Chiefs. That's just my gut. I think Jones has generally struggled this year on the run stopping and doing the extras that he's typically been really good at. I think the Commanders have a pretty good running back room. I think that this is going to be a a more interesting game than people think it's going to be. My gut says that it's going to be an eke out win by the Commanders with like a field goal or some variation of it. And I think that people are going to then start saying, huh, what happened to the Chiefs? I don't think it's going to be a full regression comment because I think you're going to still see flashes in this game where Mahomes will make a few plays and stuff. But I do think this is a Commanders win, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
Richie, I wish nothing more than your prediction to come true. I would love to know what's in that boot right there because I'm with Nav on this. He's got 31-10. I had a similar score. I've got 30-17. 30-17 Chiefs. I just think that the Commanders are too much of a roller coaster. They've got too much coming in and out. Now, there is a key guy to watch for this week on their practice report to see if Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, is coming back. If he does come back, that will help them immensely. But, their hot running back looked like below average last week, so we'll see. I'm still sticking with that, but if Terry comes back, that does help them. That will help your prediction, and I hope it comes true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then the Raiders on their bye week, win or loss. Anybody get traded from the Raiders on their bye week? That'll be interesting. I did see that they're having 2 practices during their bye week.
In my opinion, this is going to be one of the most interesting and perhaps even more importantly, the most important week for the Las Vegas Raiders.
A lot of soul searching on that staff.
The Las Vegas Raiders need to make major changes for them to, one, determine who makes the most sense for them to keep on the going forward part of the season, like for next year even.
Right.
And I think they also are going to need to make some very tough decisions in terms of roster and who's sitting where and all that sort of thing. So I'd like to see the Raiders make the proper decisions to kind of see who they have that's gritty enough to stay on their team. And
I would send a second-round pick right now, second-round pick and like a future 6th for JPJ. I would do it in a heartbeat.
I'd be all over that.
To LA right now.
Yeah,
you're going to be the new starting center for the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
because there's rumbles are saying that he's frustrated or whatnot, and we'll see if who blinks first. If it's Pete blinks.
There's also Myers as well. There's Myers, the wide receiver,
Jacoby,
who's very good. Jacoby, who's very, very good. I could see him getting traded too. But again, the question then. Look, Navman, I will make the same trade offer for my Denver Broncos as well. Like I don't think you quite understand. I was all about JPJ in that draft, and
whatever Richie offers, I'll double it.
Yeah.
All right, I will double it.
Yeah. So
we'll send QJ over there. Second round. Look, dude, get rid of Myers.
But
come on.
But I do think that the Raiders need some draft capital. My only concern with the Raiders right now is they've not shown this season that they truly are trying to accomplish a specific goal. Like for example, if you want to be a running team and like reignite the magic that you had, say in Seattle with say like a run game with like a guy like Marshawn Lynch, for example, I'm not seeing the Raiders trying to put out the best possible run blocking offensive line. Because JPJ should otherwise be your center if that's what you're wanting. You should take a dude who's a mauler and put him in the middle of the field. You should take a dude who's, passionate about the game and put him in the middle of the field.
Maybe this is just Chip Kelly's BS. Maybe that's what's bringing
Well,
this team down.
I was saying from the get-go that I thought Chip Kelly was trash, and a lot of the Raiders fans were all over him. But Chip Kelly, when it comes to NFL, has never actually been a great offensive coordinator.
No.
And so the thing is, you need to pick a direction and stick with it. And if I'm going to be honest, this is kind of where I was getting at in one of the previous shows, which is if Pete Carroll truly has the clout within the organization, which he should have given the fact this is his first year, he should literally tell Chip Kelly to sit down and shut up and just become a figurehead in the offensive kind of coordination department. And he should be finding someone else to call plays for his team to try to turn this team around. And Nabman, as you're saying, build that identity, figure it out, get that offensive identity back for your team, and then work towards building in that direction. So build around a run-first offense.
Was Pete's contract for 3 years, I believe? I'm sure there's tons of opt-outs and buyouts. So I'm wondering if that was the same for Chip Kelly, because I do know that Chip was paid quite a bit to become their OC. So it's like, if you just something to think about, you're like, man, we're going to run this back with them. And yes, 2 + 1. Okay. I mean, that's the same way I feel as a Chargers fan. I'm like, God, Greg Roman and Bradley Bozeman, they double down with these. Oh, not to here. One other thing that just, the second time this has happened this season, the Chargers have put a guy on the waiver wire that they thought that they were going to get back. I know they thought they were going to get back because he was a contributor as an edge guy and he was a special teamer. He played like 117 snaps or something on special teams. So they put Caleb Murphy, who I was super high on this season. He was like our fourth rotational edge guy. They put him on waivers because they have to do all this gymnastics. He gets picked up by none other than Vrabel and the Patriots, and is probably going to be a key player there. So not only does that hurt our special teams because we're going to have one of our edge guys playing more special teams that shouldn't be. Like, God. And then another thing is they signed our long snapper, who is a backup dude off the streets, Rick Lovato, to the active roster. Like, they cut him, brought him back to the practice squad, then sign him to the active. So they have to do all this gymnastics. And what that tells me is no matter, even if our long snapper Josh Harris gets healthy, they're not bringing him back because you're only allowed 8 spots from your IR to come back and play. And to them, he wasn't important enough to bring back.
Yeah.
So holy heck, crazy, crazy times I'm living in as a Chargers fan right now.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's going to do it for the show tonight. We're going to end it there. We went through all the scores, all the games, and all the recaps. I mean, there's a whole host that I could go into in that Broncos-Giants game, obviously with the historical kind of fourth quarter there. And I know that Raiders fans are quite happy that we didn't necessarily go as deep into that Chiefs-Raiders game there. Let's see how things go.
Burn the film and move on.
Burn the film and move on. So let's wait and see kind of what comes out of the kind of the bye week discussions and everything there in terms of the feedback and all that sort of stuff. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week on Wednesday after our upcoming games. Dallas Cowboys here. Commanders for the Chiefs, and Vikings for your Chargers, DZ. And until next week, where the West Side is the best side. Peace!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute.